Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here, back with another Cardano live stream every Wednesday night. Myself and Paddy are here to talk all about the latest news on Cardano, Q&A, and some other non-Cardano stuff as well. This week, we're joined by BigPey. Great to have you with us this week, BigPey, and welcome back as always, Paddy.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I think it's great you guys do this every Wednesday. Seeing a live stream from two different people is often a better perspective than just, the updates from you or I, Paul. So happy to be here and happy to join this show for the first time.
Thanks very much for joining us, Ben. I don't know how many weeks we're going now, Paul. It's a good couple of weeks. I think we started in around Christmas. Was it Christmas?
We're on episode 14 now. I think one of them was before Christmas, and every week this year in 2023, we've had an episode on a Wednesday night. So we're going well. It's we'll see by the end of the year how many we get to. We're going to aim for that. I'd say close to 52. We might miss 1 or 2 weeks here and there, but not bad so far.
Yeah, not bad at all. I admire the dedication, especially because it's pretty late at night for you over there.
Yeah, we're 9 o'clock here, but the thing is, my kids are heading up to bed now, and so it's fine. It's a bit quieter now here for me, anyway.
And then we do run on a bit sometimes. Like we try and keep it to about an hour and a half, but there's been a few longer ones. But hey, what can we do? And
topics.
They're just good topics, I guess. And then like one idea I was floating to Paul the other day. We'll have to do a charity event, or it's a 24-hour live stream. But I don't know if he's signing up to it just yet.
Not committing to that one just yet. But if there was some kind of charity event that we could bring in different people throughout the show, get time slots. I see actually Rob from Digital Asset News there in the comments. Be a great guy to bring on some week if you were interested in coming on and giving your opinions on Cardano and the wider crypto market. Great channel for kind of covering the whole of crypto and what's going on out there. See Darren there as well. Anyone on Twitter, I'm sure you're very familiar with Darren, Crypto Ireland. So BigPey, I'm sure everyone watching here knows who you are, but as it's your first time on the show, can you give the 30-second or the high level who you are?
For sure. So, I go by BigPey. My actual name is Peyton. I found Cardano in about 2017 and started making YouTube videos for it back then. I started up a stake pool in the incentivized testnet called PAUL ADA, which then led on to creating Bloom. Following creating Bloom, I actually did an NFT project called Mycelial Gallery. Following that, we hosted one of the largest crypto events for Cardano specifically, Rare Bloom. And now on top of working on Bloom and Atrium, or Bloom and Mycelial Gallery, I'm now working on Atrium, which the goal of that is really to aggregate together all of the different financial applications you can use on Cardano into one accessible and incentivized experience. So that's who I am.
Nice one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Atrium coming out and seeing everything you guys have been working on and even getting into testing it. As soon as you're ready for testers, you let us know and we'll be in to check it out.
Yeah, it should be this month. I'm really excited for it. We've been working, I've never really done anything like this before, building an actual application, and it takes a lot of time. But, as we're seeing the pieces be built and put in and actually being able to use the site, because I've done a little testing myself, it's a really good feeling. So
I'm going to play the stupid guy. Atrium, what is it? And fill us in. What's going on?
Sure. I haven't really talked much about it on purpose, but we're really getting to that point where I can. So I will. Really, the goal of Atrium is to build an application that teaches the user about the blockchain. It teaches the user how to stake, the difference between staking to a charity pool, a multi-pool, a single pool. It teaches the user what an NFT is. It'll actually allow the user to mint their first NFT for 1 or 2 ADA, whatever it costs us. So really the goal of it is creating a wallet, at its core, then aggregating in all of the financial applications you could use on Cardano. So, allowing them to buy from different marketplaces from the same application, allowing them to purchase from different DEXs, a DEX aggregator built into it, NFT marketplace aggregator built into it. But at its core, it's an accessible wallet that teaches the user how to actually use Cardano and, what they're missing. And it'll actually analyze the wallet that's connected to it and see kind of pieces of the ecosystem that the user is missing, and then guide the user through those, pieces of the ecosystem. And Another big part of it is incentivization. We're actually in gamification as well. We're going to have this new concept in there that's an NFT that actually allows users, as they learn from the application or use some of the different services on the application, they'll level up that NFT over time and actually earn different rewards and different customization options for the application. So really what Atrium is at its core is an application that, connects everything together, that's accessible, and it incentivizes users to learn.
Awesome. And you're clicking with me because I was looking at, for my sins, Eagle's multiverse project today, and it sounds very similar. And I've always wanted one of these types of things for Cardano. Not to say it's everything in one, but it sort of gets that feeling. It's my entry to everywhere. Is that correct?
Yeah, and one of the taglines we like to use is like, it's a wallet your grandma could use. It's what you actually, I've spent years just teaching people about Cardano at the local kava bar, at a coffee shop, and it's step by step. You got to start with the core of like, what is Bitcoin? And what I would like to do is get rid of my job and just hand them Atrium, and that's that. That's all they need.
You're just sending links then here. There you go.
Yeah, just download this,
Awesome. No, that sounds really awesome, man. I'm looking forward to it. And what's the sort of roadmap you laid? Did you say a date there in and around a particular month or?
So we're going to be releasing a private alpha this month. Who knows? It could be the first week of next month. And then from there, we're looking to actually release a public beta 2 to 3 months from now that users can get on there and really see, the core of our application. Of course, that's just the foundation, and there's many more releases coming. What we plan on doing is, releasing the core of the application and then updates, monthly after that to add in new features. And the reason we want to do that is to give users a taste of what Atrium's going to be, and also to start collecting some of that user feedback. To say that we have all of the best ideas would be pretty naive. So, once we can get 1,000 users in there testing and finding bugs and giving us greater ideas for the future of Atrium, we're going to be in a much better place. So while the application that we're going to release in a couple of months is going to be very limited, we already have the next year scoped out. And then with that, with releasing it to the public, we can add in some more cool features along the way.
That's awesome. I love it. I like the idea.
Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of my first time going into it that much. To be honest, I was a little nervous.
Sorry for putting you on the spot. It was like, I sort of touched on it a bit, but like, I need to know more what's been going on here.
That's what we're here for, just to pull the leaks out of any guests that come on to try and get as much information as possible. But yeah, the easier you can make it for the end user to use Cardano as a whole, the better it is. Because look, someone coming in new into crypto, it's so hard to figure it all out. Like for us, we're in it a good few years now at this stage. So I'm not going to say it all makes sense. There's always new things coming out, but all of the general basics you could do with your eyes closed. You kind of forget about when someone comes in new, understanding even things like what a wallet is, or what a hardware wallet or a private key, or all of that kind of stuff, NFTs, what they are, what you can do with them. There's a lot to learn. So if there are systems that can take people through it, and they don't have to go to 10 different systems, like you use different dexes, you might be yield farming on one, you might be using something else for lending and borrowing. If you can pull as much of that information into one place, then it's a great platform to have.
Yeah, certainly. And, it doesn't seem necessary right now because a lot of the people left over, found Cardano a year ago, but every 4 years we get these big cycles where, we get a new million users. So that's what we're trying to do, is prepare Atrium for that moment, for all of these new users coming in, so that it's much easier for them to understand.
Awesome.
Nice
You've
one.
been teasing us for months with the secretive tweets, and I go, no, what is going on over there? Awesome, but it's good to know.
Yeah, we liked Cardano City's marketing scheme, but we're essentially trying to follow that, tease everybody, but then release an awesome product at the end of it.
Yeah, I don't follow everything they've done. I don't think they've launched anything but a few. They did launch NFTs, did they, at one stage, but nothing since. So
yeah, everyone expected it to be a metaverse. We'd have this big Cardano City that we could all use with the cute, Cardano City girl that they would always post. But, I never got to add her as my girlfriend in the metaverse, unfortunately.
And you look at a lot of the AI images that are coming out now, and I wonder, were they able to develop some of it with AI, or is it actual art? There's a lot of similarities in some of the stuff you see coming out now. And Owen makes a very good point there to smash the like if you're coming in. Share it out as well if you can across social media, brings more people in. And any questions anyone has, make sure and just throw them into the comments. Anyone that's new here, every Wednesday we do these latest news, taking any questions that come up in the comments, and you might spark whatever the conversation is we do for the next 10 minutes. Is to try and bring value back to anyone with information they want to know. So before we get into Cardano updates, another one for you, Peyton, is Cardano where we are now. What's your thoughts on it versus kind of the potential that we all come in for? Where do you think we are now?
We're kind of in the fear spot. There are a lot of people leaving right now. I've actually talked to a lot of big people that were very passionate about Cardano in the past couple of years, and I've gotten the tweet or the message on Twitter of I'm not really that much into Cardano anymore. So we're kind of just in a weird spot with what's going on with the new governance model that's coming up and some of the controversy in the past. But I honestly think that fear, uncertainty, and doubt comes every 3 or 4 years, and you always lose people along the way. So we're actually in a better spot than we were a year ago. In terms of narrative, it's not as good, but in terms of like what has actually been built or companies that are actually building useful products on Cardano, I think we're doing really well. And I think we're, positioned to capture a lot of the users from the next bull market again, as we did in the last bull market. I mean, Cardano, I think, was the second highest performing asset of the market, which we all don't care about price. It's a good thing, of course, but what comes with that is a huge amount of users. And, we weren't really ready for all of those users yet. When Sunday Swap launched, it crashed. Whereas now, Hydra is hopefully going to be coming later this year. We're going to have the governance system coming later this year, early next year. I think we're going to be positioned very well to capture a lot of those users in the next bull market to have a better chain. So there's good and bad, but I don't really think that we're in a bad place at all. And, just some of the people that I speak to that are building on Cardano, I'm very inspired by them, very confident that they're going to ship, great products on Cardano. And, 2 years ago, there weren't that many inspiring people building on this blockchain that weren't coming from the Cardano Foundation or IOG or Emergo. Whereas now most of the people I'm inspired by are third parties that are building on Cardano. And that's exactly what you would want to see, given that this chain is evolving and becoming what we want it to be. So.
Yeah, I don't think Cardano wasn't ready for the last bull run in terms of what the blockchain could actually do. We got smart contracts, a very basic version of smart contracts. What was it, September 21? But there wasn't really enough for DeFi, as we've seen on other chains, to really launch at that point. But it's getting easier, especially the last few months stuck up to that. And even now, it's still not easy. But building on Cardano was extremely hard from talking to different developers, and the tooling really wasn't in place. We had some of the functionality, but even the Vassal hard fork is what brought a lot of what DeFi really needs. And we're seeing new tools coming out all the time, and you don't have to write everything in Plutus now. Is it Icon? Looks to be very good. You can write smart contracts in Python now on Cardano as well. So the tooling is improving all the time. We've seen Genius Yields and a few others, I think M Labs, and there was other partners open source the PAB last week. So things like that should really kick off building and allow more projects to build a lot easier on Cardano.
Yeah, and M Labs is actually using Plutarch, which is their own version of it. And really, to me, this is a good sign, because what Cardano needs to have developers actually build out this tooling and solve some of these problems is users. And fortunately, we have the users. When I look at other, layer 1 blockchains other than Ethereum, we are number 3 in terms of users, in my opinion. Looking at Algorand, looking at Zilliqa, looking at these other layer 1 blockchains, while there is a lot of good there, as far as users and community, I think we are number 3. And with that, developers and tooling will come.
Yeah, it's the Cardano community has always been one of the big strengths. And yeah, I have seen a bit of a shift in that people are expecting to see the dApps. Like when you look across some of the other ecosystems, there's new projects launching all the time and a lot quicker. But there's downfalls to that as well. And some of the strengths that Cardano has in decentralization, especially longer term, they will pay dividends, I think, in terms of how strong the blockchain is going to be and how long it's going to be around, especially when governance, not an easy thing to bring on chain. And it's a huge undertaking. If they can get that right long term, that will be very good for Cardano. So I'm going to catch up on some of the comments just before we go into any of the topics that you have for us, Paddy. Kyle, can we start giving away a free bottle of Irish whiskey on each live stream? Me and Paddy could start drinking Irish whiskey on each live stream, maybe. And the guest that comes on has to bring their own whiskey and drink it too. We could look at something like that.
Before that started.
The caliber of the content would stay pretty good if that would happen.
I think the content would only get better as the live stream goes on.
Possibly.
What else have we got here? What else have I missed? So, Crypto Talk, welcome. So, question for us, with the BTC halving next year, and halvings usually followed by rallies, and typically when BTC pumps, a rising tide tends to lift all boats. And there's more to this. Do you expect the cycle to happen again despite the current global economic situation with Russia, Ukraine, inflation, cost of living? Great channel. Appreciate that. For me, I think, yes, the same. It's hard to doubt the Bitcoin cycles now when you look back. Like in the last bull run, you had lots of people saying that things were different this time, that we wouldn't crash by 90% for altcoins or 70% for Bitcoin. But when you look at it and you start comparing all of the Bitcoin cycles, they're very, very similar. There's diminishing returns each time, but in the timeline, if you look at the last, and for people who don't understand it, actually just high level, Bitcoin, every 4 years, Bitcoin halves the number of new coins to come into circulation. So that is that the rewards per block get halved. So Cardano has something similar, but it doesn't happen every 4 years. It happens every epoch where there is slightly less coins come into circulation due to the reserve that's there being depleted. But generally the markets, once we hit the Bitcoin halving, after that, the markets generally go into a bull market. Now, even before that, leading up to it, you are in a bit of a bull market, but it's more gradually moving sideways. And it's only after the Bitcoin halving that things start to really kick off. And I do think we will see it again. Like when you see what's happening with the dollar, then it's hard to see a way out for the dollar right now and everything that's going on, the amount of money printing that's happened there. And yes, there's bigger things going on in the macro environment. Like Bitcoin hasn't been through something like this before. It was essentially born in times like this, in coming into big recession or in big recession, depending on who you talk to. But I do think that we will get another bull market after the next Bitcoin halving, and potentially even a bit before that, depending on what happens with the overall macro environment and what's going on with the Fed and with the dollar. It could even kick in before that. You see, who was it? Balaji's bet of 1 million Bitcoin. Now, he came out himself and said it's not going to happen. But what he's trying to do is highlight that hyperinflation is very possible. That you look at what has happened in, was it Venezuela, where money was just littering the street due to inflation, where the paper that it was printed on was worth more than the actual money. It just, things like that. I don't think we're going that extreme with the dollar, or not just the dollar. Like it happens, generally every currency only has a certain amount of time before its time is up. And it will happen with the euro for us, with the pound, with the dollar. I think it'll all happen. But what about you guys? Do you think we'll stick to the cycles? Is there another bull market?
Just bring up the screen share, Paul, there for a second, just to give a bit of a visual representation.
Yep.
I found this one there. And as you can clearly see, each halving, in and around the halving, things seem to, post the halving, things seem to go, a bit parabolic, and, the price does go up dramatically. But you can see throughout the trend, and near enough, would you say almost 2/3 of the way, you generally see a sort of market moving upwards. So the trend is there. Is it maybe it's just it just happens. I don't know, but it seems to be it happens every time. So we're what are we, April now? In and around July, August, you could say things could start to get very interesting. I don't know about this drop that's being forecast on this version of it. I won't be able to tell you if that's going to happen. But realistically, it's happened 3 times. It'll happen again. And I think the same thing's going to happen. The price will increase. And the popularity of Bitcoin isn't reducing. And the knowledge on crypto is, increasing globally. So I expect, I expect the price to continue, but you still will have the madness in crypto. We've had it went down to 15,000, was it? Bitcoin dropped to, I think was the lowest so far. I probably won't go that low again. That's so many factors influence that, but it'll always be these massive swings. And a lot of people predicted that they wouldn't happen anymore, but they seem to still be there. Maybe we don't see as often, the 30, 40% up in one day, 30 or 40% down the next day. It seems to be a lot less, only when something crazy happens. But I would agree. I expect the price to go up again towards the halving and then after it.
I personally think the same thing is going to happen. My really only worry, with Cardano specifically is regulation. I think that the U.S. can really hinder, growth in the entire industry and the entire world. So do I think that the halving cycle is going to come and Bitcoin is going to pop off once again? Yes, I do. I think it took like 8 to 11 months last time for it really to start going parabolic. I think the same thing is going to happen again. My only worry is that the government comes in and picks winners and losers, based on money, right? So the next bull market could be different because it could be the winners that the government picked. That's really my only worry with that. And I wanted to comment on the Venezuelan Bolivar at the 2021 Bitcoin conference. They actually had dumpsters full of the Bolivar that you could just reach your hand in and grab out handfuls of the cash from Venezuela. And it was crazy. And actually, as I was leaving, I grabbed a whole handful and put it in my pocket. And I took an Uber home. And serendipitously, the Uber driver was actually from Venezuela and left Venezuela due to the hyperinflation. So I talked to her for probably 20 minutes and just asked her what her life was like and what pushed her out of there. And it was the inflation. And it was just, these things do affect real people. It seems that, when we're sitting in America or other first world countries and we're speculating on these things, it seems like it doesn't have effects on real people, but it does. People relocate their entire families and their lives and leave their culture and their country to get away from these things. And, inflation is really happening everywhere. In the UK, I saw it was reported at 20%. Recently, which is huge. The U.S. is coming down a little bit, but we peaked out, 8 to 9% there for a little bit. So inflation's kind of happening to everyone right now, and it will affect people, which is quite unfortunate.
Yeah, so I think we all see a bull cycle coming. Just there's lots of factors that we need to just wait and see. Long term, like you say about regulation, it definitely is a bit of a worry for crypto overall, not just Cardano or any individual one. Like, I don't hold XRP, but I'm very interested to see what happens with the Ripple lawsuit and everything that goes on there, because I think that sets precedent for what can happen or where they can go next, what they can label as a security. So I'm hoping for a positive outcome for Ripple. It'll be very good for XRP holders. I'll be very happy to see them make a lot of gains on it, because if that came out that it was bad for them, it's like, who does the SEC target next? Like, they have kind of said at this stage that the only one there, Gary Gensler, there was something there. I think we talked about it on one of your live streams, Peyton, about where he came out and basically said Bitcoin is the only one that isn't a security, that everything else could be a security. So that's why I'll be keeping an eye on the current case that's going on and hope for a positive outcome for crypto out of that one.
Yeah, and staking specifically, it's you buy ADA and you can stake it, and you can earn, revenue over the next year, and it's guaranteed forever, at least until the rewards go down over time. But still, it's still going to be, 0.2%, 30 years from now, so that's kind of one of my main risks there. And I think that's really why Charles is making that big push, with the new CIP to introduce Voltaire, because regulation is coming.
Yeah, regulation is coming, and what we need is we need people like Charles and other people in the industry to stand in and give the case for crypto, that it's not all. Some people still look at crypto and it's like it's black market, it's all illegal stuff, and there's nothing good in it. So we need people like Charles who have influence to be able to stand up and tell them what the real use cases are and what's good and what's bad, where we should have regulation. Because look, there are areas that do need regulation within crypto. And if we wanted to go where I presume the three of us and most people watching here, where we all want to see it going long term, we do need some regulation in there. But you don't want to kill the innovation in it. Like you look at what the US is doing in some cases, it's starting to have a lot of crypto companies looking outside and looking maybe to move away from the US. So that's not what you want to do. Let me see what else I've missed here, and then we'll go into your topics, Paddy. Awesome. I've lost the comments. There's too many there in the last while. If you see any that... I
was curious about, does Cardano have a marketing problem?
Oh, yeah, too tall. Actually, Alex saying about some coins up, slow and steady growth. Welcome, Alex. Alex is here every week. Always getting involved. Appreciate it. Too tall. Welcome. Another regular here as well. Do you all think Cardano has a marketing problem? He says he owns a bag. He's not leaving, but asking the question. And I think it's a very fair question to ask.
I would say, it's probably not a good comparison. I was in London, maybe during the bull market. I was there for a trip, and I was in the tube, and the amount of advertising, I can't remember if it was Shiba or one of these other meme coins. There was posters all over London Underground and even on buses when I was traveling about the place promoting, that meme coin. And I was wondering to myself, it would be awesome to have a marketing team or a marketing budget or something, or an allocation of people. I don't know how it could be done to do a similar thing for Cardano. And, there's a lot of chains have something similar like that. They have marketing teams sort of facilitating it. And I know Cardano Foundation does a job, and IOG does a job, and everybody contributes. But there doesn't seem to be a marketing budget allocated to go and just plastered everywhere. People don't know about things unless they're told. So sometimes I think yes, but then I don't want to draw people in just for instant returns. It would have to be a good market employee, not the meme coin sort of format. So I'm torn. I would lean toward there is a bit of a problem, but there's so many people like you, both you guys. The amount of people that you've probably educated on Cardano and spread the word to, is probably thousands and probably hundreds of thousands. So there's other people doing it, but I don't think it's as fancy as some of the other routes that people take.
Yeah, go ahead, Paddy, if you want.
Yeah, so I think that Cardano does have a marketing problem, but it's a bit different than what you would expect me to say. And I think the problem lies in us not marketing ourselves to the wider cryptocurrency industry. For example, Consensus 2023 is this month. There are no Cardano meetups happening. IOG is not attending the event last year. And the reason I think it's necessary for IOG to attend, for us to have a large presence there, is because last year Cardano had a booth. They also had a side event. There were 1,600 people that showed up to the side event. The booth was so overcrowded that the entire event of Consensus had to look at it. It was this big booth with real plants all over it. And there were so many people that it was spreading into the other booths around it. And it made people turn their heads. It made people realize that Cardano has a huge community and a real community. And, the event was amazing. I met so many people. I was inspired by a lot of people. Whereas this year, there's nothing happening. So much so that I'm trying to make it happen myself. Last minute, I'm trying to pull together my own little Cardano event to bring people out there, to bring people together, whereas IOG is not coming. And Charles stated it was because he couldn't actually get a long speaking spot there. While I understand he's a busy guy, but I think some people from IOG and some people from the main 3 pillars of the community should go there, and we're not. I don't think Cardano has a marketing problem when it comes to the wider space of everyone, because you have SPOs. Let's say there's 2,000 individual SPOs out there. All of us market ourselves to our friends, our family, our YouTube channel. And when we ask ourselves, why has Cardano become the third largest community in crypto? Self-indulgently, I think it was the SPOs. I think it's these people trying to advertise staking and Cardano and those core philosophies and ideologies that's really brought in everyone. So moving forward, I don't think that we really need, marketing to the general public, because I think businesses and products and SPOs are ultimately going to do that. But what we do need to market ourselves to is the wider cryptocurrency community, and we need to bridge the gap there, because there's a lot of people that are already in cryptocurrency that are looking for something just like Cardano, but they just haven't heard about it yet, or they've been told something that's incorrect about it, so they've kind of stayed away from it. So yeah, I am thinking about doing an event at Consensus. So, follow me on Twitter if you want more details out there. It's in Austin, Texas, 27th and 28th. I'm trying to get a venue with like 200 people in there. I'm trying to bring Singularity Net out. I'm trying to do a little pitch for myself for Atrium. So would love to get a community there if you guys have time, or if you're near the area.
Nice. Yeah, I'll be sure to retweet anything I see on that. Consensus last year looked like an incredible event. I seen the pre-event for Cardano. I was very sorry I wasn't out there. It looked to be a lot of people there. It looked to be a lot of fun. And even on the days of Consensus, it looked like Cardano was nearly taken over at times out there. And just on the question about does it have a marketing problem, I think it's different than other chains. If you look at where the Cardano Foundation is, and you look at that compared to foundations on other chains, generally on other chains, the foundation is the main developer. They're the ones that get all of the funds initially for building the chain. But the Cardano Foundation kind of came slightly after the initial start. Like you had Emergo and IO, and then you had the foundation after. But the big majority of the initial funds went to Emergo and IO, and then the foundation got a certain allocation, but they don't have the treasury or the budget that other chains have. We do have Catalyst. Catalyst, we're still waiting to see what the next version is going to be. Hopefully it's easier for developers to actually get funds there that can actually come in and build. And I think that's where the marketing needs to happen, is to developers, because we need to develop the dApps that people want to come in and use. So the first part of it is have enough of dApps there, enough of, I suppose, different projects as well, not just the exact same as what's happening everywhere else, that will attract people in. And it's not easy to do, but I think that's where the focus needs to be. And as we come into the next bull market, we want to have all of the dApps there that people want to use. And then you will have naturally people coming in at that point, and you can maybe put money into marketing then. And whether that's people put in Catalyst proposals to get that funds, or whether the foundation, you see what the foundation done last year with the Cardano Summit, where they made a massive event of it to try and make a bit of noise and show what's going on. And it looks like they're going to do similar in Dubai this year. I think there is a communication problem there at times as well of what they're actually doing. I seen with Unity, there was a few different discussions on Twitter of people that were building their own integrations for Unity. Is it, what's the gaming? It is Unity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and where some devs were saying that they'd been talking to people in the company and they had no idea or no connections with Cardano, but the Cardano Foundation have been talking to other sections within Unity for 12 months. And sometimes there's just not enough communication there between people outside of maybe the foundation and IO that are building as well, and try and bring something together for developers. So developers in certain sectors, like in the gaming, that they know exactly where the foundation is, where they're talking to, maybe have connections there. I think that would help right now a lot more than big public marketing plays.
I think we could. I think you could round it up and just say you can always do better in marketing.
Yeah,
and that's probably the thing. I don't think we're doing terrible, but we could always do better.
Yeah, and I think this, like, where Patrick from NMaker saying that we need a fourth entity developing on Cardano besides the main three for business development. I think we need 10 different entities building on Cardano. We don't need one individual entity being, and this has changed over probably the last 6 to 12 months. Up to that, it was IO were doing all of the development. Basically, there was developers building smaller parts, but we started to really see the focus, and I suppose with DeFi coming into it as well and more dApps building, they're demanding different use cases and different tooling, and IO are listening, and I've liked that they are starting to listen. You look at other entities, you have Sebastian over at DC Spark, and they're doing a lot there, and we need more like that to come in and build. And we just need Catalyst funding to be easier for people like that to come in and get funded to build, because it's not cheap to build. I'm sure BigPey, you can attest to that from building your own product. It's not cheap to go out and build.
Yeah, it's very expensive, especially in a bear market where money's not falling from the sky, and also at a time where Project Catalyst has been paused for 4 months. Really longer if you include the last fund. In January, when the new round was supposed to start, users would actually be getting funding around this point or next month, and now we don't even have a date on when the next Catalyst round is going to start. And, considering that we are in a bear market, I think that is a bit harsh on the community. And I'm sure there's a great reason for pausing it. But at the same time, this does seem like a horrible time to pause that, because, a lot of Cardano, the ideology has been, don't go to VC funding to fund your project and your protocol. Whereas now, companies are going to be forced to raise money or go to VCs or do things that they wouldn't really have rather done, because the next Catalyst funding round, if it started tomorrow, it's going to be, month 7 of the year before we're actually able to, raise any funds there. So a huge issue right now with Catalyst being paused, in my opinion, due to the cost of developing.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm going to let Paddy get into his topics now, because I kind of got completely sidetracked with the comments and the different topics there, but that's kind of what we're here for on a Wednesday too. But yeah, the sooner developers can get funds to build, you see some developers looking at other chains because they can't get the funding to build on Cardano. And you touched on the VCs. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole now, but not all VCs are bad either. There's lots of them have a bad rep, but it all comes down to how their investment is managed and the vesting and everything that's in there. There are some that are, in some cases, they're a necessary evil to build your project, because you need money initially to build a project. And people who are just coming into crypto, it's like every startup in the real world. I don't know what the percentages is on success, but there's a lot more failures than successes. And it's VCs that are willing to bet on 10 different companies and hope that one of them succeeds, because one that succeeds can pay back all of the other ones, where the average investor doesn't really have the funds to take them risks. But Paddy, over to you now on your topics.
we'll have to do a VC topic at some point, maybe, if we have time. Okay. Let me dive into a few different things and get you guys' opinions and talk about how things are going. So, just bring up my screen share.
One sec.
Okay, so big topic that I've seen going on, you guys have probably witnessed. There's been a lot of drama in around Liqwid and Liqwid Labs on, there's been a lot of arguments on Twitter, as a lot of people have seen, but we'll not delve too deep into that. And also there's a battle ongoing between ADA and Liqwid, and I like to see that. They're two projects competing. I don't want things to get personal and blah blah. I don't like when it gets into that and people being attacked personally. That's the side that I don't like. But I do like the two projects competing. That's one thing. But the main thing that I wanted to discuss was Liqwid changing their distribution rate, and a lot of people weren't happy with it. So in short, they were setting a distribution rate reduction of 99%. So, and that was to coincide with the application not being fully released. So let's say, for example, the idea was the V1 is 10% released. Well, then the distribution rate would only be 10% of the way that we're going to allocate their funds to whenever you're putting your ADA in. So there, a lot of people weren't happy with that. And now there's been a bit of a change where it's going to be 50%. And there has been a lot of flack towards the WIN on this, and there's been a lot of arguments, and I still don't think that's a very good reasoning that V1 isn't fully there, so you're not getting what we think you should get. It's a bit, I just don't like it, but that's just my own opinion on it. And and they have their own reasons for doing it, so maybe it sounds sensible to say because V1 isn't fully there, then we should. But hey, I don't fully like it, and I think it's a lot of people are sort of turning off from Liqwid because of this reason, and they, you can see the hype for ADA on Twitter daily. There's hundreds of people out there who are bringing that forward, and they're so pro ADA that it's mad, and that's simply because Liqwid hasn't probably managed the feel of the users very well. So I just wanted to highlight. Paul, have you any other insights on that you know of?
For me, I think it's a transparency thing. There just isn't enough transparency there about the tokens. Like the initial tokenomics were set out that there was going to be X amount of tokens. I can't remember the exact numbers now, coming out to the community every month, and also going out to the team and the VC investors that they had is coming out of the team portion. So what they were looking to do is take away 99% of the tokens that were going to go to the community, but the team and VCs were still, now I think the VC doesn't kick in until June, I heard, but I'm not fully sure off the top of my head when that is. I think the team kicks in slightly earlier, but those people weren't happy about that. And I fully see that side, that if they're going to cut the community side, then you have to cut all of the tokens, that it's not just everybody else gets their tokens and can sell into the market, because right now there is no real incentive to hold it. It's like a lot of projects when they launch, when you have DEXs, they launch, they put out yield farming or any other lending and borrowing in general. When it launches, there's a lot more sell pressure than there is buy pressure, because you have yield farming and people do it. Projects do it. You put high incentives when they launch to give big APRs for yield farming to attract more people into it. But when they get the tokens, there's not a lot they can do with it. So they just sell it off for profit. And at the minute, Liqwid, they were looking for 99% reduction. The community was not happy with that, and they have pivoted, and they now have the temperature check in for 50%. But even if you look at the votes, the last time I checked, there wasn't that many people even getting involved in the votes, but no was winning on the small number of votes that was in there. I think what they need is transparency. I'd love to see DC come out and even get on some AMAs or something like that and just answer questions and be upfront with the community, what's going on, why they're looking at doing this, and try and get out in front of it. And look, lending and borrowing, something we need. ADA, we definitely see it. If you look at the price action, the LQ token is dumping. ADA has been on a serious run of late. ADA still doesn't have a massive user base, but they're building up a really good community because they're keeping their heads down. They will have pooled liquidity coming out fairly soon too. I don't know if they're going to do incentivization on the pools. I would expect generally you do have that, but I haven't seen it yet. I presume they will. But on that side as well, a lot of the vesting from early investors and people who got involved with ADA, that's all done now. So there isn't as much, I don't think there's many new tokens coming in at all monthly at the minute. So that's why you have more buyers than sellers right now over there, where LQ is the opposite at the minute.
Yeah. Have you any opinions on the whole idea of this?
I would say a 50% reduction seems a bit more reasonable. When I initially saw the 99% reduction, I was kind of shocked. That seemed like exorbitantly harsh, like just leaving 1% of the current rewards left over. 50% seems more reasonable, but at the same time, I really don't have enough information. They didn't give much information on why they want to do this. Reading in between the lines, if you look at them saying, well, 100 million TVL, once it's greater than that, we're going to move to 25%. Once it's greater than that, we're going to move to 10%. To me, that kind of states maybe that they're trying to slow down the rewards rate distribution now as the token price is really low. And then once the protocol actually has reasons to use the LQ token and reasons for people to purchase it, hopefully from speculation, there's going to be a higher price there from that speculation that's going to allow them to not pay as much rewards to offer that 50% APR there. But, you know, just coming out and saying 99% reduction, that seems pretty gnarly to me. And even the 50% seems a little gnarly. And honestly, if you know, you would have to do something like this, I think it would make more sense to just not release the protocol at that time. You know, with Atrium, you know, there's a list of items that we need to have before I'm comfortable releasing this to the public, and you know, that list needs to be a bit exhaustive, you know, while also allowing users to have feedback. So it's a really hard thing to do, and you know, I think Dwayne's probably just having some growing pains here. And, you know, honestly, I know what it's like to kind of be in the limelight, you know, in a negative sense. And I feel for him a bit there. And I hope that the reasons behind this are valid. And there's some smart sense there as far as protocol building and the future of the protocol that is leading him to make this decision. Because I know that he knows when making this decision that it wasn't going to go well. You know, there's just no way of thinking about it and thinking, oh, you know, everyone's going to be okay with this, because everyone's going to earn less.
Yeah, and just to balance it out a little bit, not to make us sound so bad, I would say the positive on Liqwid is that people are using it. You know, there's 23,000 transactions went through in the last epoch. You know, and that dwarfs ADA massively. You know, ADA is not even at 1,000 yet, so you can see the massive differences in them. And you can see how maybe more tokens are coming out of Liqwid than ADA. People have massive sale pressure that's going on. But Liqwid is performing. You know, it is working. It is a good application. It does work, and people are using it. I think if they can get ahead on and it's hard, you know, but this is hard. This is probably new stuff. You know, it's hard to manage everybody's expectations, and you get a lot of flack. If they can manage that, the token distribution, and perhaps find a better use case for the token, I can't see why it won't be a success. But it is a challenge, and you guys probably know that.
Yeah, it's not easy being in the public eye there, and I think the tokenomics, looking at them now and how things have played out, it's easy to say it now at this point, but they probably should have been a bit different from the start in terms of the distribution if they knew they were launching with an earlier version. And to me, it still comes back to the transparency of what are people earning at the minute, what's going on, what is the plan, what's coming next. And I think they can work with that, and hopefully we see some of that coming out, and the transactions speak for themselves. There's lots of people using Liqwid Finance. You look at, they're doing good things as well. Look, the ADA that gets locked up, they're staking that with single stake pool operators. I think, is it 16 operators they're helping support stake pools at the minute. So it's great to see things like that happening, and we need lending and borrowing. It's something I've talked about for nearly 2 years at this point, waiting for lending and borrowing to launch for the different opportunities that it brings. Liqwid still don't have many assets on it at the minute. As they add more native tokens to the platform that you can provide liquidity through, or you can borrow them, then that opens up a lot more opportunities. And with ADA bringing pooled liquidity as well, to me, it's good. Competition brings out, it means that each competitor has to try harder and give a better product. So for us as the community, it's great to have competitors out there.
Yeah, definitely. They both of them will push each other. I know, and they're both they both have communities. I think the ADA guys' tails are up because the price is up, and I think Liqwid, you know, we'll probably see something change in there in the future, and they'll probably be, you know, very vocal. But I think it looks a bit doom and gloomy for Liqwid. But hey, look, TBL, they're operating, they're running, they're providing a service. You know, it's looking good technically from that side. So, hey, you know, I wish them the best of luck. I want them to succeed.
Yeah.
So that's probably it from me from Liqwid. And nothing else to add. Anybody has any questions, throw them out. And if not, we'll move on after that. Buying bonds.
No, I think you can go on to whatever you have up next.
Cool. I just wanted to show, so just to, I wanted to share this site for people, which is the the apps on Cardano website. I think it'd be good for people when they're doing their research and looking into products and projects. So it gives you the transactions that are performing for that said application. So not to put any foot on ADA before anybody attacks me on Twitter, I'm not doing any of that. You know, the price on ADA is doing very well. You know, it has been pumping. But when I went and checked, okay, and it has great things coming down the road. So don't come at me. But I still point out that it isn't being massively used. You know, it's only got around, say, 800 transactions last epoch. You know, it's not anything really. It's not massive. So, and I do expect them to do better in the future. So I think everything in there, and to help people with their research and looking into tokens, it's probably more of what's coming is what people are looking at. But it is growing. But it does to give you some things to look at and check the site out. It has good analytics also on the graphs, how the overall transactions are looking. Not looking good at the minute in this one, but we're only sort of started. This is 402 hours at last epoch. Unique accounts, you know, the volumes going on. So yeah, awesome site. Check it out if everybody wants to do some research on it.
Yeah, very useful site for research. And just on ADA, I'd say the transaction count is lower now because they only have peer-to-peer lending and borrowing, which there isn't that big of a demand for it yet. Once pools launches, then I think things really kick off for them on the user side.
Awesome.
Actually, Peyton, I forgot to ask you on your time. We're coming up on the hour here. Me and Paddy generally ramble on about stuff for a while, but what's your time like?
Yeah, I'm good. I usually don't schedule any calls this late, so we can keep going.
Awesome. Okay. So I am going to jump into one of the people, or one of the company now, sort of, well, DC Spark, but he's getting as big as IO and Cardano Foundation in America when the amount that they have brought to Cardano. But Sebastian released a brilliant tweet recently, and it's that Cardano will be an EVM chain next month, which is pretty soon, and that we'll be able to interact with anything from an EVM perspective with any Cardano wallet. I don't know if all the Cardano wallets are on board. It'd be interesting to see what's happening with that. I'm also interested to see what this is going to allow us to do. That's the bit that I'm missing. And if anybody knows out there that in detail what this is going to bring, does this mean I can integrate with anything on Milkomeda, or is it even any other form of EVM sort of application that people might launch? Let me know. But I think at the minute, and what we got, was it last year? Was it last year they released Milkomeda? I think it was. Yeah. So we had to use the bridge and wrap our ADA over, and then whenever we wanted to use any of the DEXs over there, we could use and transfer, take any sort of wrapped EVM tokens. But this is saying that we can just use our ADA, and everything will be done magically in the background. Is that sort of how it's all going to work? And which I think is a better user experience. What do you guys know about this one?
I personally think that this is the biggest thing that they could have done for Milkomeda. You know, having to wrap your ADA and bridge it and then move it over. You know, traditionally the user experience was download a Flint wallet, send ADA to Flint wallet, from Flint wallet, send ADA to a MetaMask wallet. And then now with that MetaMask wallet, you can connect to dApps on Milkomeda. So to me, what this is stating is from the Flint wallet, that'll probably be the first wallet that actually allows this. You're not going to have to use MetaMask anymore. And hopefully they'll roll this out into other wallets, you know, the Eternal wallet, Lace wallet, Atrium eventually. You'll actually be able to connect these two dApps on, Milkomeda to use some of the EVM services that they offer, to, play some of the Paima Studio games that they offer. So as far as user experience, I think that this is the biggest thing that they could have done, because when with one of my projects, we're looking at actually building a video game. And when thinking about building, on Paima using their engine, the whole Flint to MetaMask was a huge, barrier for us to actually want to build on Paima or on Milkomeda. So that's really what they're trying to state here, is that they're removing that big barrier here to where you'll be able just to, you know, click change network. And then I'm sure there'll be a button that says move your ADA over to the other network to easily allow users to interact with some of these protocols that are offered on Milkomeda.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a great step to have, and I need to try and catch up with Sebastian fairly soon, see can I get him on to explain it in more detail. But it looks to be linked into their wrapped smart contracts, where I don't know the technicalities of how it's going to work, but from what I'm seeing is you should be able to use your ADA wallet and interact with any of the dApps that are launched on Milkomeda, effectively making Cardano, allowing you to use anything on the EVM chain using just your Cardano wallet. So you would be interacting, but it might be that your ADA goes into the Cardano smart contract, and then that is used on the Milkomeda side. I'm not fully sure of it, but the easier you make the UI, the more users that are going to do it. So it's great to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing Cardano become the #1 EVM chain.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it? And I think there was a good comment there by Roki, if you wanted to bring it up. I think that would be a good thing to say. So in that people, I think some people, what you said, you were right, Peyton, that whole process, that user friendliness, and I think that's what had been a barrier, and they've tackled that. They've seen that wasn't a good user experience, and most people, they don't want to do it. They don't want to, and this is going to be awesome to just say, okay, I can just do what I'm doing normally and not really realize all the magic that's going on in the background. So yeah, I definitely think this breaks down the barrier.
Yeah, and I think with this, you still will get your staking rewards as well, where before this, when you were moving your ADA over to Milkomeda, then you weren't getting your staking rewards anymore, even if you just held them on Milkomeda. So for some people, that would be a barrier too.
Yeah, I'm sure that all they're doing is allowing that smart contract to stake. So my curiosity is what pools do they stake into out of that Milkomeda contract?
That's awesome. That you're teeing me up for my next topic, which I think is really good. And we can delve into that. So I was going to start chatting about the share of ADA and also the general staking. So we can bring that up. So I've seen a few news articles have picked up on the same thing, that 66% of ADA is held by retail investors. And we can delve into the whole staking stuff as well and how we feel how that's going. Personally, I don't think 66% is held by retail. I think they're including the likes of Binance and maybe Coinbase and a few of these other secret players who are that hold massive bags. I don't know if they ever found out the names of some of those stake pools. I would say, yeah, it is a high percentage of retail, maybe 40-50%, probably around that amount. I'm guessing. I don't fully know. It's probably hard to find that out. And also the staking side of it, I think that'll be interesting. And one, just on your point there, Peyton, on all these projects, as they grow, and I've always wondered about this, as they grow in size, let's say, MinSwap gets to maybe $1 billion in TVL at some point. That's going to be a lot of ADA. What are they going to do with all that? Are they going to just stake it to multiple pools, or how does it all work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say at the beginning of last year, I was kind of screaming from the rooftops about the A0 parameter. And everyone was trying to put me in the box of he's a multi-pool operator. Of course, this is what he's screaming about. When in reality, what I was trying to state was where we're going is smart contract staking and protocol TVL. And as that protocol TVL builds up, users will then, put their ADA into these smart contracts, and then those smart contracts will delegate to, the pools of the protocol itself. So then, we're sitting here arguing about single pool versus multi-pool operators, when in reality, there's another player entering the game, and that player is MinSwap and SundaySwap and these large entities that have, maybe 1 billion TVL in one day, that then decide where that ADA gets staked, and also decide the vote on that ADA, given that smart contracts have the ability with the voting keys in there. So that's kind of what I was stating over a year ago is, we're kind of arguing about a small problem now that's going to be much larger as we move forward to the smart contract era of Cardano. And, with that, I think it's very important that a pledge is required to start a stake pool to limit the amount of stake pools that one user can have. However, that really doesn't solve the problem now, especially because smart contracts themselves can also pledge to stake pools too. So there really does need to be a solution to this problem as we move forward, because protocols will actually be whom run Cardano and not multi-pool operators or large entities.
What you could say is in the future, 66% of ADA is likely going to be held by projects, applications, and smart contracts, rather than me and you holding it. We've put it into all these smart contracts and it's doing it, generating money for us, whatever. But they're able to, they're technically in a way holding it, controlling the stake. So it sort of changes, doesn't it? That's probably going to be very interesting to see. And you're right. I see some projects are allowing us to vote on where it goes, but I don't know if they are all doing that.
Yeah, in a perfect world, that's what happens. The users actually own the protocol, so that stake that's within that protocol, that TVL, is still decentralized in the sense of the users vote on what pools those are delegated to. One thing that we're doing at Atrium, sorry if I keep pitching about that, I'm just a little excited about it.
Keep coming.
That's what we're doing, is we're delegating to multiple single stake pools with the contracts that we have. And it's going to be really hard to find if someone actually is a stake pool or not, or a single stake pool, because they can be a part of a pool farm of a guy that runs 20 plus and they just have an individual identity. So we're really trying to tackle that problem. But as a protocol, that's what we're trying to do to solve this protocol governance problem, is in our smart contracts, delegate to 50 plus individual stake pools in the ecosystem to bring value to them, instead of just focusing it on, Atrium pool 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, really just to, increase Cardano's decentralization.
Yeah, two projects that I like what they do, and 56 has said it here, but Wing Riders allow you to vote. So anyone who is providing liquidity in a certain pool can vote where that pool gets staked. Excuse me. And Indigo as well. I like what they do in that whoever you are delegating to yourself, the wallet that you are using to interact with Indigo, whoever you are delegating to, the funds stay delegated to that pool, and you can still interact and use the protocol. I know that's maybe not possible for every DApp, but I'd like to see more actually doing that rather than the actual dApps taking control. And as you say, they can have a lot of influence then on if they start to use it for voting when we get Catalyst open and things like that. So it's definitely changing where people need to put their attention on the 66% of ADA held by retail. I don't know how you would really judge what is retail versus what isn't retail, or how you would know by just looking at the balances in wallets or where they're held. If you look at Binance, was just looking it up there, Binance holds 10% of the stake pools. Avengers, which we think is Coinbase, holds 7.3% of the staked ADA. So are they saying that 17% combined there is retail, or is that a mix? Like Coinbase would have custodian services, so they could have non-retail users using that service. So it's hard to put the numbers on it.
Yeah, and just to give you a question, and I get it regularly. People obviously not complaining to me, but bringing it up that their rewards aren't as great anymore. They notice this 3 to 4% changes where it's at around. Is it around 3-ish to 4-ish now?
3.4%, 3.5.
So it is decreasing, and and I'm advising people, there's other opportunities out there to earn, and these projects that are coming out, they're probably better. But what do you guys think about this?
I think it's very hard or one of the barriers for dApps in the DeFi sector for Cardano is they have to have a fairly decent APY to encourage people to just stop staking themselves. I know it's only 3.4% now, but people get that for holding full custody of their funds themselves, and there's no risks involved once it's sitting in their own wallet. Hopefully for most people that's sitting on a hardware wallet, that they are the only ones that can touch it. But you really have to offer a lot more. To me, getting 5% or 6% by interacting with a DeFi DApp. No matter how much I trust the team, I might put a small bit into it or a certain part of my portfolio, but the majority of my ADA will always sit on a hardware wallet where I have custody of it. It depends on your risk level. Is 2 or 3% extra worth it for losing custody of your funds? For some people, it might be, but for me, it comes down to breaking the portfolio into percentages. So yes, Cardano staking is down, and we would need to see a massive jump in the number of transactions on the network to start stopping that falling, or to even start maybe one day pushing it back up. But we're a good bit away from that just yet.
Yeah, that, mixed with the, the price, the amount you're earning now mixed with the price, stake pool operators are earning a lot less. But I definitely agree with Paul there. The percentage that you earn from using a smart contract has to account for the risk that you're taking when you're entering that contract. If you look at Uniswap, it's been around for years, so there's some trust built up there, and you feel more comfortable using those contracts. But any contract on Cardano has been built within the last year, so it's a bit more. I'm a bit more nervous using contracts on Cardano. And someone asked me, will you keep a lot of your value in Jet? And to me, it's too new. It's nothing against the team or what they've built or the ideologies behind it. It's just too new, and oftentimes time is a good sense of trust for me as far as how long something's been running and operating without issues.
No, thanks, guys. I was just interested in that, and it's going to be interesting in the future what people do. But I do agree, spreading out your portfolio a bit, and finding the opportunities is probably the hard part, and trusting those projects is probably also a hard bit going forward. But yeah, no, that's it for me on the holdings and staking. If you guys have anything else, or any other questions, if not, I'll move on to, I think, my last Cardano topic, and then we've one more after that, which is not Cardano.
Yeah, we'll give you 15 more minutes, Paddy, 10 to 15 minutes for your topics, and then we'll leave the last few minutes. If there's any final questions in the comments, if there is, drop them in now, and we will answer them before we close out, and we'll try and keep it under the hour and a half, is generally where we look at the hard cutoff.
Awesome. Okay, I just wanted to delve into this one. So I'd like to go over what's been going on with the projects and their tokens on Cardano for a bit, and give it to you guys. I'll ask you guys a question to think about what people, what you're looking at, what projects excite you. But I'll just go through what's been happening. The general ranking over the past, since we last went over it, hasn't really changed. A lot of projects have been pumping. There's a lot more down that are doing pretty well. Things are pretty red generally over the last 30 days. And I think that's to do with Cardano increasing. And more people thinking that Cardano is going to increase in price over some of the bigger projects that are on chain. So the likes of Ajax or WMT and Min, obviously has done well over the past 30 days. It's been a good project. Liqwid, we know what's going on there. It's not doing very well. Copy and Meld, Meld is one that I'll talk to you guys about in a second. I'm a bit excited about that. I'd love to know what, is it close? Is it close? Nunet, it had a massive rally with the whole AI trending, and it was going great. And I think maybe it's bottomed out a bit. It might be close to that point, and it might start to come back around again. It's still a very good project. I'm excited about that one. That's one of the ones that I'm looking to for the future. Wi-Fi, I don't know an awful lot about it. I think I was questioning you the other day on this one, Paul, and maybe you can enlighten us in a second. And then the rest, I think there's a lot going on in multiple different. EMP and Power, they've released some good articles lately, good project, good progress. Sorry. I'm excited about that. I'm also a bit excited about Flack. They've got a lot of things going on. Still early days, and obviously I'll stop in and around here. ADA, it's been pumping. There's a lot going on. A lot of people are excited about it. I wanted to balance that out from my earlier saying it doesn't have many transactions before I get attacked. But just to you two guys, is there any particular projects, and there's no financial advice given in here, that excite you, that you sort of looking to for the future? that people to keep an eye on, or just even your own basic recommendations?
Do you want to go first, Peyton? People are.
I'll take it.
Given my opinion a few times, but I'll chime in at the end as well.
I always like AGIX. Big fan of Singularity Net and all of the different things they're working on in their ecosystem. And as they release these new tokens in their ecosystem, if you hold AGIX, you'll get airdrops from the new projects that are launching. Big fan of everyone working there. I actually had the pleasure, and I'm very grateful for it, of actually flying to Vashon Island and meeting Ben Gortzel, recording a podcast with him, and meeting a lot of the wider team. And I've met a lot of people in the space in the past couple of years, and I've never really been as inspired as I was in that moment meeting their team. And so big fan of AGIX, also World Mobile Token as well. Definitely a big fan of everything they're doing there. It seems to align perfectly with what Cardano is trying to do in the world. So yeah, I'm going to be an Earth node operator for World Mobile, so I definitely have some of those tokens as well. Other than those two, I've really been spending most of my money on building on Cardano, this is kind of my first time doing that. Usually I'm sitting here investing in all these little altcoins and buying up ADA and capitulating, but now I'm just trying to get the devs paid. It's a bit of a different cycle for me. To comment, because you asked a question about Meld, like what do we think of Meld? I, from the very beginning, have always kind of had a weird taste in my mouth about Meld. They've just kind of given me that weird tummy feeling. And, while a weird tummy feeling is not, analytical evidence, so people can make their own choices, it's often worked out for me. And with the amount of money that they've raised in the multi-millions, I don't think that they've delivered something that's useful enough for me to account for all of that money that they've raised. In my time actually, building software on Cardano and building, useful things for people, I'm getting a better gauge of, how much money that takes and how much time that takes. And I don't really think Meld has had much to show, for the 10 plus million that they raised in that bull market. So yeah, I wish them the best. I would never wish someone failure, but I don't really invest in Meld token. And I've still always had that weird tummy feeling. But I really hope they prove me wrong. I hope they build a product that I get on and use every day. So,
yeah. I think I'm a bit on the same boat with Meld. I want to see the meat. Where is it? It's been a time, and there's been a lot of money, like you say, and I've seen the test net that was released there. And all right, there was something there. It's just not enough. It looks like a bit of ham, but I'm expecting a big, nice bit of steak, to stick with my media analogy. It's just, I'm not blown. I want to be blown away, and I'm expecting to be blown away, but I'm not. And I want to see something substantial over the next couple of months at least. It's been taking quite a long roadmap by watching over the past, was it 2 years? Was it 2 years ago, roughly? I think there's something reminding me it was 2 years ago.
Could be, yeah, because their initial staking came to an end there in the last month. I think there was unlocks, and that hasn't helped the price because people have been selling off after they got it. My thoughts on them: I did try out the testnet. UI definitely needs an awful lot of work, and I know when I went to go on and test it, I had to log in using Google, which I don't know why you would put something like that on a crypto product. And I know now they got feedback and they're going to change it, that you can use other ways to get in. But currently, to use the testnet, you could only do it connecting your Gmail or your Google account. The UI, it's just not fluid. It's too hard to understand what collateral you can use for your loan or what you have provided, and then how much you can actually take out, or where your collateral is going to sit, what percentage it's going to be at. And there's a lot of work to come into it yet. I hope that underneath all of that and the actual workings and smart contracts, everything's working there, and it's just a UI thing. But they have a lot of work to do before a mainnet release. And yeah, they haven't produced enough for the amount of funds that was raised from the community. I think, look, long term, if they can pull off their roadmap and bringing in fiat on-ramps and actually being able to use your crypto as collateral to take out a fiat loan and get that into your bank, I will definitely be a customer. And if they do that, I will potentially own Mel's token to have better interest rates and things like that. At the minute, I don't own any. If it keeps dropping the way it is, maybe I will be a holder. If it dropped another 20-30% at that point, I might look at DCA in there if we're getting close to a mainnet launch. Other projects, like you mentioned, World Mobile, anyone watching the channel knows I'm a fan of World Mobile and will run an Earth node in that network too. I can see people are getting impatient with, we haven't got a mainnet yet, and with the white paper that came out there in a week ago, it looks like mainnet still is a little bit off. I haven't seen any dates on that. That's my perception and from looking throughout the community. So there's a bit of people getting sick of waiting on it, but it's one I will be holding long term, because long term, I think what they're doing and the potential it has is definitely a good project. Kopi, I see there, top 5. That's another project I hold. And in terms of gaming projects on Cardano, definitely one of the leaders there, and some of what they've released already. I am excited to see that one come into play. I think gaming can be a massive way to onboard people into crypto. So that's another one I hold. I don't hold much of any other project outside of that. I hold bits and pieces of tokens, but NewNet there, I think definitely has potential. Part of Singularity Net and what they're trying to do with decentralizing processing power could be very good. I like Indigo. I like them for how they built the protocol and what they've done and how they launched it themselves. Basically, Eric kind of bankrolled it, got the protocol out there, done a fair launch for everyone, and you have to respect what they've done and launched a very good project on Cardano, one of the top DeFi projects, I would say, right now, and took no initial funding from the community. So great to see. And I've commented on lots of the other projects before. You've talked about ADA. I think when you're looking at the projects, it's like I look at the overall crypto market. Generally, money flows into Bitcoin first. Then after Bitcoin goes on a run, it goes up faster than everything else, and then it starts to slow down. Maybe as a bit of a pullback, the funds then can start to flow into the layer ones, the likes of Cardano. Ethereum generally flows into Ethereum first. And I think it'll be similar when you look at, it'll keep going down through the levels. If ADA goes on a fairly decent run, then at some point you're going to see some of them funds starting to flow into the native assets. But when you're looking at tap tools here, you're looking at that against ADA. So it's like I tell people, look at the ADA price, look at it against Bitcoin, look at it in sats, and in the bigger picture, you want to see that you're gaining against Bitcoin as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's
thanks for those, guys. I think it gives a good insight to people on some of the projects that we're looking at. I get it all the time. It's a sort of common question, and I like to ask others.
See, actually, we have Damon in the chat here from Charlie3. He says there's a big update coming in the next hour or two. I'll keep an eye out for that one. Good to see you on.
That's C3. Yeah, awesome. Let's see. So no more. A few more questions, is there?
Ron just says he sold his meld for 3 months ago for this reason. I'm not sure which of the reasons, but something some of us said. Thoughts on Genius Yield? I like that they open sourced the PAB and launched it last week. It's another project that has raised a decent amount of money, but we haven't seen anything from them yet. We've seen a lot of marketing, but up until the PAB, we hadn't seen much else. So I think they still have to prove themselves. Yeah. With Lars there, definitely gives a lot of credibility on the tech side. And I hope that they deliver something soon. I haven't heard anything on testnet or mainnet launch or anything of either ye.
No, and my opinion of Gens is because they have, the way that I see them is they're a football team that has the star player for Haskell in the world, if you want to call it, and Cardano development, and there still really isn't something. They're not winning the trophies. You know, there's nothing there. You know, it's still, and I'm expecting more. You know, I'm always expecting more of everybody, but I'm expecting a lot more of these guys, and they're probably more than likely will prove me wrong. But I just want to see more from them. And it's good that they released PAL. That was an awesome release. And I'm not going to diss them for anything in that sort of line. But I want to see a product.
Yeah, I would have to agree with everything that you guys said. And, I was an advisor for them for a little, not an advisor, but a YouTube advisor, essentially, like one of their marketing people. And I worked with them for a few months. And then we ran into some issues. And then in the falling out, I don't think it was handled very well. So on top of, the issues that you guys mentioned, and then the way that they interacted with me, not a big fan of Jen. But however, I think any good protocol, releasing innovative features to Cardano is a good thing. So I wish them the best, and I hope Genius, when it comes out, is awesome. One thing that really no one talked about was the fact that they had the ISO pools, right? They had the 4 ISO pools going for a while. One of them ended up breaking, and then when the initial time was over, they switched the name of it to Genius X and kept the ISO going, right? So they just essentially created a new token, created a new ISO, kept the same pools so they could keep making that money, which I thought was actually pretty wild. I've never really seen, people get away with something like that, charging 100% on multiple pools and then changing the names of the pools, creating a new token, and then everyone's fine with it because they have that star player. I've gotten so much shit for running 6 pools at 5%, but these guys can run them at 100, switch the name, and then keep it going. It's pretty wild to me.
It is. It definitely is. I was going to show, and just to finish them off, I was going to show, just to get the word out there, they have all of their pools are retired now, I believe. I can't find the tweet or wherever it was. So anyone, there's I think there's around 50 million ADA in there, if not more. So anybody who's staking and they think they might be in one of their pools, you're not earning anything. So be sure to move them. Any more questions, Paul, before we diverge into something completely random and have a discussion on something?
Roki's liking the transparency. Roki's another regular here.
Yeah, I haven't said anything about it because I just get so much shit on Twitter, and then I get a bunch of shit in my comments from people that hold these projects. So sometimes I keep my mouth shut so I can sleep at night and keep making YouTube videos, because if I get too much shit, it just makes me not want to make content and post, and makes me want to go quiet and just keep working on my building. So I oftentimes stay quiet about this stuff, but I feel a bit of a sense of security on Paul's channel for some reason.
It's good. It's good. And look, people,
Paul. It's all Paul's fault.
People want transparency until you say something potentially negative about a bag that they hold, which it's hard to stay in line. Someone's always going to hold a bag, but trying to just give your honest opinion about projects it's a good way to go. And I always appreciate transparency when people come out. And thoughts on Orcfax? Not one that I've seen much on. As far as I've heard, they're doing pooled oracles, something similar to what Ergo have. Heard a few good things about them, but haven't dived into them just yet.
Yeah, we'll have to take note and check it out.
Not a very good name. I've never heard about them, but Orcfax is not very catchy. Branding wise, doesn't really hit.
Trying to think how it relates. So I guess Oracle is the orc bit, but Fax, I don't know. Anyways, I digress. Right. Any other questions on that? If not, I will go into
I think the chat is quiet, so you get the last few minutes, Paddy.
Awesome. It's just a topic that we got from our friend Peyton here, and it's on the US is up to stuff. And before we go into it, and I'm sure you guys have noticed it, I've been feeling for the past while that the US is attacking crypto. And once I've seen this link, and then they sent me a different link. I'll bring the other one up in a second bit. And then I Googled this one. I was like, is this why the US has been attacking crypto? Is this why Mrs. Warren is out there being anti-crypto? Because they don't want our crypto. They want to say, they don't want our version. What I mean is us and Cardano and Bitcoin and Ethereum. They want us to use their crypto. But enter what's happening is the U.S. Federal Reserve is it Fed now? What do you call the Fed now? Is a centralized sort of crypto exchange. Peyton, you can fill us in a bit more detail. What is it? What are you guys releasing?
They're pretty vague on what they're actually releasing, and they don't really directly state that it's a cryptocurrency, but a lot of they're kind of alluding to it as being a cryptocurrency. And a lot of it is like the way they mention it is an upgrade of the current system, business to business transactions, consumer to business transactions. But I really think it's really the first start of the rollout towards, a centralized bank digital currency. And they're kind of obfuscating a lot of that to not bring along a lot of headlines. But I agree with you in the sense that, them cracking down as hard as they have been on cryptocurrency, kind of aligns directly with this announcement and with them actually releasing FedNow. But there's really nothing stating because they actually have a website. There's a FedNow website that you can go to, and I'm pulling it up right now. It's explore.fednow.org.
Okay.
And when you get there, it's just all about payments. New instant payment service will be here in July 2023. So it's coming, relatively soon. And it's, really on the back, a lot of the lawsuits that they're filing against Binance and Coinbase and, cracking down on a lot of these companies. So it kind of alludes to, this being the government's first shot at a cryptocurrency. And as always, the UI and UX from the government website is absolutely horrible. And we have a little button called Explore the City at the top, which comes up with a little city of Fed services, which is just a lovely demonstration.
Wow.
Yeah, they have a showcase theater, a technology tower, the Welcome Plaza, and then the Instant Payments University.
Okay. Well, it's a lot to it, I guess. Tell me, so I'm guessing they're gonna. Is it a digital dollar then that they're gonna have?
I don't think they really have to call it that, or they really have to do much anyways, because if you look at the way the banking system works and the dollar works in the United States, it's already pretty much digital. Most people and most transactions are digital at this point. Most people use credit cards or debit cards. I think it's only a couple % of all dollars in existence are cash. If you have $20,000 on you cash, the police are going to take it away from you. So it's, at this point, I don't think there really is going to be much change. I think they're just going to slowly add some blockers on what currently exists. There was actually a tweet that Charles retweeted earlier. Let me go find it real quick. I have a little bit more information.
Just while you were chatting, so we looked into the UK variant of this that they're exploring. I think it's going to come. And one thing, they did release a white paper, and we'll have to try and dig out if FedNow has the same. But for the UK, they explicitly said in the white paper it's non-programmable, meaning so a lot of people are worried about these types of things where they could program what you can and cannot purchase if it does become a sort of retail used currency, or even businesses. The business to business, then they could generally instantly block any transaction they don't want you to do. I wonder what way the FedNow is going to go. We'll have to explore that.
Yeah, I found that tweet from Charles. It said it could connect hundreds of millions of people on a peer-to-peer, B2B, and B2C, business to customer basis. FedNow will enable 24/7 irreversible peer-to-peer payments with low cost and high throughput. So it's not much of a change because in the United States, you can just wire money to someone. And while it's not instant, oftentimes it is irreversible. And secondly, it takes about a day. If you're lucky, if you wake up at like 9 a.m. when the bank's open and I wire you money, you could have it at 5 p.m. by the end of the day. So really, what they're stating here is it's almost, while they don't quote it as being an upgrade to the wire system, I mean, that's really what it looks like here is an instant wire because it is irreversible, but it is also 24/7 because wires currently have to be done during business hours through the bank. Because if I do a wire at the end of the day on Friday, you're not going to get it until Monday morning, right? So it really just depends on how they're framing it. This could be a good service that some people are going to use, or this could be the start of a centralized digital bank currency, right? Because with what they're stating, it doesn't really seem like a bad thing. It just seems like an upgrade to the wire payment system. It seems like something that's necessary for the US dollar to transact in the United States. But based on the recent treatment of cryptocurrency companies, it seems like there's more here than meets the eye and than what they're stating publicly.
So I just brought up the tweet you shared with me earlier. And it's sort of different to crypto. So it's fully centralized, no public ledger, fully opaque. It's run by basically the Fed. So it's like, what's different really? Is it just putting a fancy piece of technology in front of what's already there to make it faster? It is interesting.
Yeah, this one here, the narrative they like to take is that if you have Fed now, you don't need a decentralized system. So, and a lot of what we see with CBDCs and everything they're trying to push is that they're trying to take the advantages, some of the advantages of cryptocurrency and sell them to people, in that you have instant settlement of funds and you can send them anytime 24/7, but they're not highlighting the idea of decentralization or who has actually control of it. Because if it's a CBDC, or now I haven't looked really anything into Fed now, but presumably it's centralized, somebody else can always come in and take control of your money, or they can do what they want. If you do something wrong, you see people getting deplatformed from social media. Can you be deplatformed from your bank? Who knows? It's that's why people need to keep pushing the advantages of cryptocurrency. That CBDCs, look, I see the advantages of CBDCs. You see the transaction fees, you see with the banking system now how long it takes for some transactions to go through. So CBDCs would be a good upgrade on that if we didn't have cryptocurrencies, if we didn't have the alternative of what is out there. So it's to show people that what cryptocurrency can actually do. And you look at Operation Choke Point. I think people have accepted now that yes, there is an Operation Choke Point. And was it Kirk and something was the law firm done the paper on it, breaking it down from the law standpoint of what's actually happening out there at the minute?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think Charles had a good video on it also. So it's and hopefully Mrs. Warren doesn't get voted back in based on her anti-crypto stance. But the rest of, I don't know about the rest of our policies, but I'm not a US citizen, so I don't get to vote. Any other questions or anything to add from you guys? If not, I think I'm done.
Cheers, BigPey.
If I see a Paul live stream, I send a sticker.
Nice one, thank you. And there was one final thing here.
Yep.
Is the SEC actually going after Cardano yet, or has Charles and the team put in for regulations? To me, I think Charles has tried to stay one step ahead of different things in the past. And I think what they're really trying to, I think you mentioned earlier in the stream, BigPey, about pushing for Voltaire, is trying to get ahead of this. That if something is completely decentralized, it's not controlled by one person, that Charles can't come in and say, right, shut Cardano down today. The SEC has told me it's over. I think he's trying to push ahead with Voltaire and finishing out the Cardano roadmap, because that means that no one entity can actually control it. No one entity can come in and say, stop or change this, or you should only process these types of transactions. Look at Arbitrum at the minute, not decentralization and governance done completely wrong. I don't know if he's actually, me and you were talking about this, Paddy, anyway, about the vote that they put in to give, was it 750 million to the foundation, but they put the vote in and it turns out that the vote is losing or has lost at this stage, but the foundation has already taken the 750 million and they've already spent 50 something million of that. The vote, they say, was just ratification of it. It wasn't really to vote yes or no. So there's governance done completely wrong.
That's an interesting form of governance, that's for sure.
I think it's almost inevitable that the SEC comes after Cardano. It's definitely a pessimistic take, but it's just it seems like that's what's coming. One morning we're going to wake up and IOG or some other entity is is charged. You know, they have a lawsuit against them, and that's going to be the narrative for a while. Hopefully there is enough time for Cardano to become fully decentralized, you know, before that happens.
It was, do you know what interested me about the Coinbase incident was, Brian had said that they had been in contact with the SEC about numerous things over the past couple of years, and they didn't get much back. And then they just turn around and, you know, now you're just, here's a Whales notice. You know, they don't seem very welcoming in trying to pave the road ahead. And I think they make it look as if you shouldn't talk to them, because if you talk to them, tell them what you're doing, then they come out and go, no, that's wrong. You're now being sued.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit weird. I don't know if they feel that, you know, there's a massive attack on crypto. We have the Coinbase, we have XRP, and we now have, well, it's not from the SEC, but we have Binance, which is also in trouble. So there's things coming from every direction. And yeah, Cardano and other chains like Cardano could be possible for them to go after. You know, and that's why governance is going to be massive to decentralize Cardano and make sure that there is no entity there to take to court. You know, IO eventually will be just the paid developers per se, and basically everybody who holds ADA owns Cardano.
Yeah, I'm happy that Coinbase is actually the one that's, you know, kind of fighting that, but I've definitely heard from other companies around me, because you have the option as a company that deals, you know, in things that are like securities, you know, to say, hey, you know, SEC, here's all of our data, here's all of our information, here's how we're not a security. We just wanted to give you that word. We wanted to create a good relationship with you. And most of the time when a company does that, they end up getting screwed. So a lot of companies that I've talked to are like, yeah, just don't talk to them and hope for the best, you know, operate ethically, you know, don't take money from users, operate within the law and hope for the best. But oftentimes, even if you do all of those things, it's still not going to work out well for you.
Yeah, it's like with Kraken, like the SEC, when they come after them, and Hester Pierce put back some really good questions on it. It was like the SEC said Kraken should have registered and everyone else should be registering, but she put back the questions. It's like, well, if a company wants to actually register for, this was in terms of the staking, what's the process? Does the SEC actually have a process for crypto companies to come in and register? And I don't think they have any processes in place, or there hasn't been anything put out publicly anyway, or I don't think they know what to target yet. Their main thing is they don't want crypto right now because they lose control with it. But there has to be some middle ground found on that. And hopefully the likes of Coinbase fighting back on it, that we can get some clarification on it. I think Brian has even said this, that that's what he wants out of this, is that if they stand up and fight, that they can get clarification. Even if Coinbase loses the court case, that there might be some precedent set or some rules put in place of what is expected of companies and how can they actually comply. Because look, Coinbase wants to comply. They became a public company, was it last year? So they went through a lot of the process with the SEC to become public. So I don't think they have everything in place yet, but I see we're really running over on time. I'm going to give a final word to you guys. Anything you want to put out there, and we'll wrap it up.
Nothing for me. I covered most of my topics, and thanks everybody for joining. And thanks, Peyton, for joining. It was awesome, man. Some great insights, and I'm looking forward to Atrium.
Yeah, and that's really all I have to say is thank you, Paul and Paddy, for having me on. Thank you guys all for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure you click that like button, subscribe to Paul's channel, and I hope to come on again soon.
Yeah, look, thanks very much. Thanks, Paddy, for joining as usual every Wednesday. Paddy and BigPey's channels are both in the description. Make sure you check both of them out if you're not subscribed there. Subscribe if you're new here. Give the video a like. We're back here again next Wednesday, and I'll try and have 1 or 2 videos out in between that as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Do appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.